the stabilization or destabilization of the mass media. That's our theme this week. It was on full display. Donald Trump being weeks away from taking office, people are panicking, whether it's the irrational fears of overrated, self-important pundits. They are paranoid and it's percolating.
Media lawyers are worried about this. They're preparing for it. They are preparing their newsrooms for it with the expectation of more lawsuits, more leak investigations, more subpoenas in the months and years to come. There's a great AP story about this morning saying there's a balancing act right now for the press between being fearful and just being prepared. You're doing our jobs, but being aware of the climate.
Well, it sounds paranoid. Maybe paranoia is justified. As we see already, the rules have changed. Case in point, George Stephanopoulos of ABC. He finally felt the consequences from his unfounded defamatory attacks on the president-elect, resulting in a stunning $15 million settlement.
This was stunning to me and absolutely a gut punch to anybody that works at a major media company.
Really? Well, Chuck, we know what a gut punch looks like and feels like. And you know what? Stephanopoulos might be a little different because he was told not to say Trump is a rapist because he's not a rapist, and George still said he was. In fact, you can't even say he's a convicted felon because Donald Trump has not been sentenced yet. He says it anyway, and he will not be sentenced, in my view. Stephanopoulos did get his contract renewed, but apparently had to take a pay cut. Even legacy media having trouble following directions just to be fair in their coverage. Case in point, Jeff Bezos' Washington Post struggling with staffing, not with delivering, staffing. Nobody wants to edit. Nobody wants the job. In my opinion, it has to be fear of Trump or refusal to cover him fairly and honestly. Then the LA Times owner, so exasperated with his staff's push to, push back on his orders to treat 47 fairly again, he told his columnists, don't even write about Trump. Essentially, take a break and be calm before the January 20th storm. And lastly, what stuck out this week to me is what consistent critics seem to be finally understanding.
Guys, can we cut it out? Donald Trump is not an idiot. Donald Trump, let me just be very clear. Donald Trump is smarter than me, you, and all critics.
Yep, and to the credit of the New York Times lead columnist, Bret Stephens, one of the founding members of the anti-Trump conservative club, he admitted there were so few members he's closing down shop and now pledging to give him a fresh look and a fresh start. And by the way, Trump is now even getting credit for something we used to take for granted. How about accessibility? After experiencing a president who would not even meet with his own staff, let alone the press, recognition by even his critics that he never stops working. Trump answers the call no matter who it is, literally.
I called him and said, I want an interview with you. Obviously, he said no. But my point is, I was able to get to him by dialing his phone. If I were to want to connect with VP Harris or President Biden, there's 50 people between me and that. I could write a note that maybe could get to somebody, then through Pony Express and a pigeon, something might end up in a mailbox near them.
See, joining us now to discuss this and maybe project what the next 4 years will be like, the host of the Hugh Hewitt Show, Hugh Hewitt, who was also outraged about a month ago. You were fed up, Hugh. You walked away from the Washington Post, right?
I did. I used to work for the Post. I no longer do. I don't talk about my old colleagues, but I wish them well. I just don't think that legacy media generally is going to be able to recover from the credibility gash they have taken in this cycle. And, Brian, I think it goes to the cover-up of Joe Biden's condition that's been underway. We saw about that in the Wall Street Journal this week. You and I have been calling it for a couple of years. We've been saying the quiet part out loud. Now we know that all legacy media was in on it. They want us to forgive and forget, but I don't think they're ever going to recover from this. It was a very bad cover-up.
It is. And do you think that 4 years of Joe will give them a fresh look, even if the audience doesn't come back? Or do you think it's the same people with the same views? We'll just wait for Trump to do something to go back to the same retort?
I really don't think that legacy media can change, Brian. I'm talking here about ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post. I really don't think they can change. And the reason is they've been hiring the same people for the last 40 years. There are only two kinds of Republicans who work at legacy media: missionaries and refugees. I've been a missionary for so long at so many different places that I've given up. I mean, I'll go some places and make the arguments, but I'm not interested in doing it on a regular basis anymore, because 95% of the people that work for legacy media are leftists. They're liberal to leftist, and they used to be fair, and they're not. And now they're on the brink of collapse. In fact, I said to Ben Domenech on my radio show on Friday that, Ben, the legacy media is sort of like the Assad regime. We didn't realize it's made out of paper mache, and then you push at it, it falls apart. Well, the ratings of your competitors, the CNNs and the MSNBC, they're so awful. And the Los Angeles Times and other newspapers have lost so many subscribers. I really have got to wonder, how long can they keep this up now, especially that we all know that they've been covering up for Joe Biden for 2-3 years.
It's inexcusable. It'll go down in history as one of the most egregious errors ever, and it was consistently done over 4 years, and the worst probably is yet to come out. Just for a note, Donald Trump, despite all the headwinds, is on a 7-year high for favorability. So let's move to something else.
Yeah.
For Donald Trump to be successful, and he's going to have to work out his relationship with Elon Musk professionally. I think they get along fine one-on-one, but you saw how they were kind of missing the mark this week when it came to trying to work out some type of spending plan. Your thoughts about what's going to happen over the next few years between the two?
Well, it's not just Elon Musk. It's also Vivek Ramaswamy and David Sachs and a group of people that he's brought into the administration, into his circle, who are billionaires and who are very close to it and very, very smart. I think Elon Musk is sort of the Thomas Edison of our generation. He certainly is up there with Einstein. He's just a genius. So you bring in all this talent, and talent has opinions, but the president-elect is the president-elect, and he will be the president. I think it will go fine, but if any of these people, whether their name is Musk or Ramaswamy or Sachs, no matter who it is, if any of them think they're running the show, they're going to find out from the president-elect that's not the case. We saw this, Brian, already. Lots of people came in who thought they were going to manage Donald Trump in his first term. They didn't make it to the end of his first term, and I don't expect anyone to attempt to push around Donald Trump, and I don't think anyone's dumb enough to do that of the people that he's brought in.
Yeah, I mean, they should just follow. In this case, they can go back to leading when it comes to SpaceX. And I think David Sachs is going to be remarkably successful as AI and cryptocurrency. I also think just some of the headlines. It looks like the critics are jumping all over this relationship. You see in Newsweek, Elon Musk called president as Trump follows in his footsteps. Colbert embarrasses Trump for bowing to President Elon. Yahoo Finance, President Musk. So these are the types of things that in the past would get under 47 skin. My sense is this will be just a hiccup and they'll get on the right page together. What do you think?
I agree with you, Brian. And by the way, all the new talking points that are going after Elon Musk, it doesn't tell you anything about Trump or Musk. It tells you everything about legacy media and how it works. They get one line of attack and then they repeat it across every echo chamber inside the blue bubble. And it doesn't happen on the Fox News channel, doesn't happen on my radio show, doesn't happen in anything I write or anything you write. The problem is legacy media doesn't know. Everybody now sees what they're doing. They're trying to make Elon Musk a storyline because they got no storyline. Donald Trump is the most accessible president of my lifetime. I've covered every one of them since George H.W. Bush. I worked for Reagan. I worked for Richard Nixon in his retirement. By far, Donald Trump is the most accessible president ever for the press. What they don't like to tell people, they don't want to reveal, is that, in fact, he's comfortable in his own skin. He's in command of the room. That first press conference showed it to us. So now they have to find a different target, and they've decided to make it Elon Musk. It's not going to work, Brian.
I hear you. Hugh Hewitt, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Always great to get your insight, and I love your show.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.